Toxic people don't fear loud words or arguments. They fear strength, self-control, and boundaries. And if you want to make them fear you without ever becoming toxic yourself, you need to understand something. Power isn't in how loud you get, it's in how steady you stay. Toxic people thrive on drama. They want you angry, rattled, and off balance, because the moment they control your emotions, they control you. But you don't win by fighting them at their level. You don't win by matching their chaos with more chaos. You win by being the one person they cannot shake, the calm in the middle of their storm. That's what truly makes them powerless in your presence. Set unshakable boundaries. Boundaries are your first line of defense. They are the invisible lines that protect your peace, your values, and your dignity. A toxic person will always test you, pushing, prodding, seeing how far they can go. The moment you stand firm and make it clear, this line will not be crossed, something shifts. They realize you are not someone they can bend or manipulate. Boundaries don't just protect you, they send a message: I value myself, and I won't allow you to disrespect me. That alone makes them back off. Stay calm under pressure. This is one of the most powerful tools you have. Toxic people are experts at provoking reactions. They thrive when you yell, when you defend, when you lose control. But the moment you remain calm, the game is over. Nothing unsettles them more than your composure. When they throw their chaos at you and you don't flinch, they start to feel powerless. And that stillness, that calm energy, becomes your weapon. Don't overshare. One of the biggest mistakes people make is giving toxic individuals too much information. They don't need to know your every thought, your every plan, your every struggle, because the more they know, the more they can use against you. Protect your inner world. Keep your personal life sacred. Let them wonder. Mystery is power, and the less they have on you, the more they fear you. Control your body language. Power is not just in your words, it's in how you carry yourself, the way you stand, the way you look at someone, the way you hold silence. These things speak louder than shouting ever will. Toxic people sense weakness through nervous energy or fidgeting, but when you sit with confidence, hold eye contact, and keep your body calm, you radiate strength. And that quiet confidence is intimidating to anyone who seeks to manipulate. Detach emotionally. Toxic people want you tangled in their web of emotions. Anger, guilt, shame, frustration. But when you detach, when you no longer give them the satisfaction of seeing you rattled, they panic, because their tactics don't work anymore. Detachment is not coldness, it's clarity. It's showing them, you don't own my emotions, you don't control how I feel. That realization shakes them to their core. Lead by strength, not aggression. Remember, real fear doesn't come from being toxic yourself. It comes from being untouchable. Strength is not about aggression or intimidation, it's about restraint. It's about standing so firmly in your own power that nothing they do can move you. That's what makes toxic people fear you, because they realize they can't touch your center. And without that control, they lose their grip entirely. Toxic people don't fear loud words or arguments, they fear strength, self-control, and boundaries. And if you really want to understand how to deal with them, you need to remember this. The more you react, the more you hand over your power. They thrive on drama, on your frustration, on pulling you into their chaos. But the moment you refuse to play their game, the dynamic changes completely. You don't defeat toxicity by outshouting it. You defeat it by becoming so grounded, so unshakable, that their attempts to rattle you fall flat. Think about it. What they want most is a reaction. They want to see you angry, to see you unravel, because that's where their control lives. But when you stay calm, when you don't take the bait, you disarm them, you rob them of their power. Real strength is not found in aggression. It's found in composure. It's that quiet, steady presence that makes people realize they can't get to you. That's what unnerves toxic people the most, because deep down, they know control only works when you give it to them. And here's the truth. Your boundaries, your discipline, your ability to regulate your emotions, those are the things that protect you. Toxic people push because they're testing to see if you'll bend. They lie, they provoke, they manipulate, all to see if you'll give them an inch. The moment you hold firm, the moment you show them, this is where I stand and I'm not moving, they know they've lost. The real power isn't in matching their fire, it's in standing tall in your own calm. It's knowing who you are and refusing to let anyone drag you out of that place. That is what makes them fear you, not because you've become toxic, but because you've become untouchable. Set unshakable boundaries. Boundaries are everything when it comes to protecting yourself from toxic people. Think about it. Toxic individuals are constantly looking for openings, weak spots, small cracks in your armor where they can sneak in and gain control. They will push, they will test, they will probe, and if they see that you bend, even just a little, they'll keep going until they've taken as much ground as you'll give. That's why boundaries are not optional. They are non-negotiable. They are not walls that shut the world out. They are doors that you decide who gets to walk through. And the moment a toxic person realizes that your door only opens on your terms, they understand they don't have the control they're looking for. When you set a boundary, you are making a statement, this is who I am, this is what I allow, and this is what I refuse to tolerate. It's not about being harsh or unkind, it's about being clear. Clarity is power. Toxic people thrive in blurred lines, in confusion, in those gray areas where you're not sure if you should say something or let it slide. They feed off hesitation. But when you stand firm, when your no actually means no and your yes means yes, they feel that strength. And that strength unsettles them because it shows them you won't play by their rules. The truth is, boundaries aren't just about other people. They're about you. They protect your peace, your values, and your energy. Every time you enforce a boundary, you're telling yourself, I matter, my time matters, my well-being matters. And that self-respect radiates outward. Toxic people sense it, and it puts them on edge because they know they can't push you the way they push others. They can't manipulate someone who refuses to give away their power. Setting boundaries isn't always easy. Some people will call you difficult. Others might accuse you of being selfish. But that's only because they benefited when you had none. The moment you decide to stand up for yourself, the people who once thrived on taking advantage will resist. That's when you know you're doing it right. Because boundaries are meant to filter out those who drain you and protect the space for those who respect you. Understand this. Every time you stand firm, every time you say no more, every time you choose peace over people-pleasing, you grow stronger. Toxic people begin to realize that you are not like everyone else they've been able to manipulate. You're different. You're immovable. And that's when the fear sets in. They don't fear your anger. They don't fear your words. They fear your refusal to bend. They fear the fact that they can't control you. They fear the strength that comes from your unshakable boundaries. Stay calm under pressure. One of the greatest strengths you can develop when dealing with toxic people is the ability to stay calm under pressure. Toxic individuals thrive on chaos. They push your buttons, they poke at your insecurities, they deliberately create tension just to watch you break. Their power lies in their ability to provoke you. The moment you react, whether it's yelling, defending yourself endlessly, or showing frustration, you've given them exactly what they wanted. You've handed them control over your emotions. But when you stay calm, when you don't flinch, when you refuse to give them that satisfaction, you take all of their power away. Calmness is not weakness, it's discipline, it's self-mastery. And it's unnerving to those who depend on emotional chaos to control others. Imagine someone throwing insult after insult at you, waiting for you to explode, and instead you just remain composed, grounded, steady. That stillness is powerful. It forces them to sit with their own anger, their own insecurity, without being able to transfer it onto you. And that, for them, is terrifying. This doesn't mean you don't feel anything. You might feel frustration, hurt, even anger. But you choose not to let those emotions dictate your actions. That choice is where the real strength lies. Because anyone can scream, anyone can argue, but it takes real discipline to stand in the fire of someone else's chaos and remain calm. That's when they realize you are not someone they can manipulate. The truth is, calmness disarms toxic people more than confrontation ever will. They expect war. They expect resistance. What they don't expect is stillness, silence, and self-control. And when you give them that, it shakes them. They realize they cannot rattle you, and in that moment, their tactics lose their power. So the next time someone tries to bait you, tries to pull you into an argument or provoke a reaction, remember this. Your calm is your weapon. Your composure is your strength. The less you give, the more unsettled they become. And the moment they realize they can't control your emotions, they know they can't control you. Don't overshare. Toxic people are always looking for something they can use. They listen, but not the way healthy people do. They don't listen to understand you, they listen to collect information. Every detail you give, every secret you share, every weakness you reveal, those are tools they will store away and eventually use against you. That's why oversharing is dangerous. The more you open up to the wrong person, the more ammunition you hand them to manipulate, guilt, or shame you later. Think about it. How many times have you confided in someone only to have your words twisted or thrown back at you in the middle of an argument? That is exactly how toxic people operate. They weaponize closeness. They pretend to care, they pretend to be interested, but what they're really doing is gathering leverage. And once they have it, they use it to control you. This is why you must become more intentional with what you share and with whom you share it. Now, this doesn't mean you have to become cold or shut off from the world. It doesn't mean you stop trusting everyone. What it does mean is that you start being selective. Not everyone deserves access to your inner world. Not everyone has earned the right to hear your vulnerabilities, your struggles, your deepest thoughts. Those parts of you are sacred, and only people who have proven themselves trustworthy should be allowed in. When you learn to hold back, when you stop giving toxic people easy access to your mind and emotions, you take away their greatest weapon. There is power in privacy. There is power in silence. Toxic people hate not knowing what you're thinking or feeling because it leaves them with nothing to grab onto. The less they know, the less control they have. Mystery unsettles them. Uncertainty frustrates them. When they can't predict your moves, they lose the ability to manipulate you. And that's when they start to realize they have no real hold over you. Oversharing often comes from a place of wanting to connect, wanting to be understood, or even wanting approval. But you have to remember, with the wrong people, what you see as vulnerability, they see as opportunity. Protect your energy by creating limits around what you reveal. Learn to observe without exposing, to engage without disclosing. Keep parts of your life just for yourself, because privacy is not weakness, it's strategy. When you start living this way, something shifts. Toxic people lose interest because they can't figure you out. They can't find the cracks in your armor because you haven't handed them the blueprint to it. And when they realize they can't use your own words, your own feelings, or your own confessions against you, they begin to fear something far greater than your anger. They fear your self-control. Control your body language. Your body speaks long before your words ever do. Toxic people are experts at reading those unspoken signals. They look for hesitation in your eyes, nervous movement in your hands, the way your shoulders tense when you feel uncomfortable. And the truth is, they don't just hear your words. They study everything about how you deliver them. If your body language shows insecurity, they will spot it instantly and use it against you. But when you take control of your presence, when you learn to carry yourself with quiet confidence, you shift the balance of power. Think about what happens when you walk into a room. Before you even say a word, people are already making judgments about your confidence, your authority, your strength. Toxic people, in particular, are scanning you like radar. They want to know if you are someone they can intimidate or someone they should be careful around. That's why posture matters. That's why eye contact matters. The way you sit, the way you stand, even the stillness in your movements. It all sends a message. When you stand tall, when you look someone directly in the eye, when your body remains calm and composed, you're sending a signal that says, I am not rattled, I am not intimidated, and you will not control me. Silence, too, is part of body language. Most people feel the need to fill every quiet space with nervous chatter, especially when they feel pressure. But toxic people love that. They thrive on your discomfort. They watch you scramble to explain yourself, to over-justify, to fill the silence with words that give them more to use against you. But when you can hold your silence with strength, when you can sit in that stillness without flinching, it unsettles them. They don't know how to handle someone who doesn't rush to please, doesn't rush to defend, doesn't rush to give more than necessary. Control over your body language doesn't mean acting fake. It means aligning your physical presence with the strength you already carry inside. It means moving with purpose, speaking with intention, and showing through your posture and composure that you are in command of yourself. And when toxic people see that, they feel something they weren't expecting. Intimidation. Not because you are loud, not because you are aggressive, but because you are steady, and they cannot shake you. Detach emotionally. Toxic people feed on emotions. They survive off reactions. They want to see you angry. They want to see you defensive. They want to see you hurt. Every rise, every outburst, every emotional slip gives them fuel. That's how they maintain control. They stir your emotions because emotions cloud judgment, and when your judgment is clouded, you are easier to manipulate. That is why detaching emotionally is one of the most powerful things you can do when you're dealing with toxic people. It takes away their favorite weapon. Now let's be clear, detaching doesn't mean you stop caring about life or people altogether. It doesn't mean you become cold or heartless. What it does mean is that you stop giving your emotions away to people who have not earned the right to hold them. You stop letting someone else's chaos dictate your state of mind. Because when you detach from their games, you step outside of their control. You become untouchable. Think of it like this. A toxic person will throw hooks at you, insults, guilt trips, manipulations. They're fishing for a reaction, hoping you'll bite. And the moment you do, they reel you in. But when you don't bite, when you don't even flinch, they're left standing there with nothing. That silence, that composure, that refusal to engage, it frustrates them, it shakes them, it makes them feel powerless. Because without your emotional reaction, they can't win. Detachment is not about pretending you don't feel. It's about mastering what you do with those feelings. You can feel anger, but you don't have to explode. You can feel hurt, but you don't have to show it to someone who will use it against you. You can feel disappointed, but you don't need to hand that power over to the very person who created it. That's real discipline. That's real strength. When you learn to detach, you create space between their behavior and your response. You give yourself a pause, a moment to decide how you want to act instead of reacting on impulse. That pause changes everything. It means you are no longer controlled by their actions. You are controlled by your own choices. And that shift, that moment of clarity, is where your power lives. Toxic people don't know what to do with someone they can't provoke. They don't know how to handle someone who won't give them the fight, the drama, the emotional chaos they're hungry for. It scares them. It frustrates them. It forces them to confront the reality that their tactics don't work on you. And once they realize that, they lose interest. Because without control, they lose their grip entirely. The real strength is not in showing someone how angry you can get. It's in showing them that no matter what they do, you will not be moved. That's what emotional detachment is. It's refusing to hand over the keys to your inner world. It's letting them scream, provoke, manipulate, while you remain steady, centered, and unshaken. And that calm, that clarity, that refusal to react, that is what makes them fear you most. Lead by strength, not aggression. Strength and aggression are not the same thing, though many people confuse the two. Aggression is loud, it's forceful, it's reactive. It's an attempt to dominate through fear or intimidation. But real strength doesn't need to prove itself that way. Real strength is quieter, steadier, and far more powerful. Toxic people understand aggression. They know how to argue, how to fight, how to play games. What unsettles them is strength. Because strength is something they can't manipulate, they can't overpower, they can't bend. When you lead with aggression, you're still engaging in their world. You're still stepping into the chaos, matching their fire with your own. And in that exchange, you burn energy, you lose clarity, and you sometimes lower yourself to the very behavior you're trying to rise above. But when you lead with strength, you don't step into the storm, you force the storm to face your calm. You become the steady center they can't shake. That's what makes people stop and take notice. Strength is about presence. It's about knowing who you are so deeply that no insult, no manipulation, no attempt to undermine you can shift your foundation. It's standing tall, not because you shouted someone down, but because you didn't need to. That kind of power is far more intimidating than any outburst ever will be. Toxic people expect resistance. They expect hostility. They expect you to fight back. But they don't expect someone who stands so firmly in their own skin that they cannot be touched. When you show strength without aggression, you lead by example. You demonstrate to others around you that true authority doesn't come from being the loudest in the room. It comes from being the one who doesn't lose control. People are drawn to that energy because it's rare, it's disciplined, and it commands respect without demanding it. And toxic people who depend on fear and intimidation to maintain their power feel small in the presence of someone who doesn't play by those rules. Strength without aggression is restraint. It's refusing to give away your peace just to prove a point. It's the confidence to know you don't have to fight every battle, because not every battle deserves your energy. That's the kind of strength that makes you untouchable. And that's the kind that toxic people fear most. Toxic people operate in a very specific way. They feed on weakness, overreactions, and emotional vulnerability. They are experts at reading energy, at detecting hesitation, at sensing fear or uncertainty. The moment they perceive that you can be rattled, that you can be manipulated, that you can be controlled, they strike. Their power does not come from who they are. It comes from who you appear to be in their presence. If you give them the reaction they want, you give them the control they crave. Understanding this is the first step in disarming them. Toxic individuals are not motivated by logic or fairness. They are motivated by control. They observe, they test, they push boundaries, all in search of an emotional response. And when you refuse to provide that response, when you remain composed, centered, and self-contained, you remove their advantage entirely. Suddenly, the tactics they rely on, guilt, manipulation, intimidation, no longer work. The very tools that once gave them power now leave them powerless. It's important to recognize that they thrive on chaos because chaos creates openings. Every argument they provoke, every insult they throw, every attempt to manipulate is a test. And when you remain unshaken, you teach them something crucial. You are not vulnerable to their strategies. You are not predictable. You cannot be controlled. That realization is deeply unsettling to them because it breaks the pattern they rely on. The psychological truth is simple. Toxic people fear those who cannot be shaken, who cannot be provoked, who cannot be manipulated. Your inner stability, your emotional discipline, your calm in the face of provocation, these are the things that strip them of their power. When you understand their patterns and refuse to feed into them, you no longer play by their rules. You create a space where their chaos cannot touch you, and in that space, they begin to see that they have no control over you. Real power is not about being louder than everyone else in the room, and it is certainly not about matching someone else's toxicity. Real power is quiet. Real power is deliberate. It is the energy that emanates from someone who knows exactly who they are and refuses to hand over that control to anyone else. When toxic people encounter someone like this, they are unsettled, not because the person is aggressive or combative, but because they are untouchable. They can no longer predict your reactions, they can no longer exploit your emotions, and they can no longer bend you to their will. That uncertainty, that inability to manipulate, is what makes them fear you. You see, toxic people thrive in patterns. They watch for overreactions, for hesitation, for emotional vulnerability. They push, they prod, and they provoke because they know those reactions create openings. But when you refuse to give them those openings, when you maintain your composure, your boundaries, and your self-respect, you dismantle their patterns. You show them that their usual methods will not work on you. And once that realization sets in, their fear begins. Not of you as a person, but of the fact that they no longer have power over you. This fear is rooted in respect, though it may not feel like it at first. Toxic people respect strength because it cannot be faked. They recognize the discipline it takes to stay calm under pressure, to protect your personal boundaries, to detach emotionally, and to maintain control over your own reactions. When you embody these qualities consistently, you project an aura that is impossible for them to undermine. You demonstrate that control over yourself is far stronger than any attempt they can make to control you. That's the difference between power and aggression, between strength and toxicity. When you walk through life with this quiet authority, you change the dynamics in every room you enter. You no longer react impulsively to provocation. You no longer hand over your peace to someone else's drama. You communicate through presence, through composure, through clarity. And that is far more intimidating than shouting, arguing, or trying to overpower someone with aggression. Toxic people begin to see you as untouchable. Your strength is not visible through force. It is visible through control. Every decision you make, every boundary you enforce, every moment you remain calm in the face of provocation builds a reputation that is stronger than words. People notice when someone is unshakable, unmanipulable, and self-contained. Toxic individuals feel it instinctively. They sense that no matter what tactics they deploy, you will not bend, you will not break, and you will not engage in their game. That awareness, that realization, is what creates fear. Fear does not come from cruelty or toxicity. Fear comes from the knowledge that someone cannot be controlled, cannot be manipulated, and cannot be undermined. It comes from the quiet, unwavering strength that refuses to surrender to chaos. And when you master your boundaries, your composure, your emotional detachment, and your self-mastery, You embody exactly that strength. Toxic people fear the loss of control more than anything else. And when they see that you cannot be touched, cannot be provoked, and cannot be swayed, they begin to understand something crucial. The power is no longer theirs. It has always been yours.